Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is still March the 18th,
Never
1991. It's never going to change. It's always going to be this date on the tape. And we're still at 555 Franklin Street in Elmira, New York. The only difference is, if you haven't been paying attention, this is tape number 2. You have to look at tape number 1 to understand what tape number 2 is all about.
Oh boy.
Okay, now, it's probably someplace in the closet, so look around, you'll find it. It says tape number 1. If you need a master copy, check back with me, I'll sell you one for 25 bucks.
Right.
Okay, here we are. Now, you had a couple of points you wanted to cover?
Well, I tell you, on tape number 1, you'll see a message in there that will tell you where the gold is hidden, right? They got to read it and write, and if they get it, there's millions of dollars worth of it. It's called Fort Knox.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. Well, now, what he's trying to tell you in a roundabout way, that there's a secret account out there in a certain bank that he's not going to tell you where it is,
Right.
that it won't mature into the year 2005, that whoever the person is that can figure out the code by the little subtle hints that we have left in the past video and in the future video can go and claim the prize. It's untold amounts of money. Okay, go ahead.
Very good. I almost believe it myself. Now, what was it you wanted to know there?
Where were we? Yes.
I'm back from Vietnam. No, I don't go to Vietnam.
No, you didn't go to
From
Vietnam.
Korea.
Right.
I'm back home. I'm a civilian.
Yeah, we already asked them to give advice to people out there that are planning to go to war someday.
Don't.
No.
Well, no, wait a minute. This last group that went over to the Operation Storm there, they were operating.
Iraq conflict.
There we go. They were over there under, well, these sophisticated weapons. I just can't believe. I know in World War II they dropped 500 bombs trying to hit a railroad car, and most of them would go down the road or hit something else. One would sort of disrupt it. But now they've got it so that the one bomb, zoom, right down the chimney. Terrific. And they softened them up good. We did expect thousands of people hurt and killed, and that fat old guy, what's his name, the bear, the general there?
Norman.
Yeah, whatever. He's a tough old bird, and he knew what he was doing, and he handled it. And they're coming back, and they're not going to have too bad a time getting back here.
For you history buffs out there, non-history buffs, this is the thing that happened after Grenada. Grenada is the thing that happened after Vietnam. This is the one that happened after Grenada, and this is called the Iraq conflict, Desert Storm. You probably don't remember. It's before the other one that's coming up soon. Okay? Remember, you heard it here first. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, they're going to be treated a lot different than World War II vets, and the Vietnam people really got a bad deal coming back. And then they're all heroes that are coming back, and every politician that was against it is now out there doing everything they can do to help these men out. $10,000 bonuses and free this and that and homes and so on. They're really going out. It's all playing the bandwagon. But you know, getting away from the politics, I didn't really ever get out of the military because I worked for a while with the establishment, the CIA down there. I was supposed to be one of the foremost escape and survival experts. And they had these people all over the country. They had engineers and doctors and all sorts of people that were specialists that worked for them. And all of this material, they would send us these questions and problems that they had, and we in longhand, we wrote it down, what we thought ought to be done, and then they would be picked up at the door and we would be paid and handled it. And that was a beautiful setup. And every month we would submit our particular specialty, and we would get paid. Until finally, there was a president, what was his name?
Jonathan?
Yeah. President Johnson. It seems that he found out that the CIA was using tourists and even priests that were going over to visit the European countries and were bringing information back, clandestine information, to the CIA, and they were getting reimbursed. So he cut it out. Everything was cut out. No one got anything anymore. So our payments were stopped. But I kept submitting all the time, free of time, hoping that it would, be brought back, but it never was. And it was a very lucrative thing, not an honest thing, because they said it's up to you what you do with the money. And I said, what about taxes? That's your problem. If they come after you, we never gave you a penny. So you've got to be able to launder it yourself, Well, I didn't have much problem laundering it because I was just getting out of that bind that I was in, and the money came in handy. If this kept it up, I would have been received more money. I would have probably been supervisor of this area from this side of the Mississippi, and it would have been a nice, especially South America was in a turmoil.
Before you go too far, I wanted to bring them up to date. What we're talking about is events that were more current than World War II. This is during the Vietnam conflict. My father here was running a pizza shop over here, but strictly as a cover for his CIA activities. Now, no one else knows about it. We can't release this tape too soon because of the legal ramifications that may come from the Secret Information Act of the government. However, at that time, different parts of the Vietnam War were successfully completed, whatever you want to say, because of some of the unique inventions of this man here. Could you give us some example about that?
Well,
how about the helicopter thing? Where they
well, there were 2 or 3 different things that they used on. The laser was in now, so I had set up what they call Operation Glowworm. This material would be put in on the bushes, and it would only be activated with planes flying over with what they call a spread beam laser, and then it would glow for a long time. And anyone passing through it would get it on the clothing, and when these planes passed over with their laser, you'd see these figures moving down in there, and going wherever they disappeared means they were going into a tunnel. That's what you wanted to hit, and they worked on that for a long time, and then I don't know why the thing was pulled out. I guess it was getting to be was overused, I guess, just like it was during the Vietnam. I had suggested, I didn't ever want to be blamed for it, but I suggested, I went to Cornell University and asked them if they had any particular chemical sprays that they could knock down foliage. And my idea was that around the perimeter, you have a base camp and a jungle, and all of this jungle just around the perimeter, if you could spray that and knock it all down, you'd have a better chance of protecting yourself. Well, I don't know what happened to it. They thanked me very much, and that was the end of it. But then I heard about Operation Orange. They were spraying everything. They were spraying everything. Even our own people had it all over themselves, and I guess there was a strong solution or whatever they used, and I never advocated using it like that, just for perimeter. And that was another one. Then there was the idea with the helicopters that they claimed they already had developed, that when they had these tanks on there, when they were coming down to pick up people, they pulled the lever, and all of these the clouds from an oil, it would actually be oil, would just throw a complete smog all over. And as they come right down, they pick up the people and take off. And of course, the propellers would dissipate it, send it out all over, and it was irritant, a little bit of an irritant. The people you picked up would bother, but it would also bother the enemy, the fire. And they said they already were working on something like that, so that wasn't accredited. But you sent it in anyway,
Wait a minute. I remember them coming up here to pick you up with helicopters to take you down to Pennsylvania to test your idea.
They did test it, but they still, another branch of it, it was a lot of politics in this whole thing, these rank will be in it, and they wanted to get the credit for it. Not that I give a damn one way or the other. As long as they paid me, I didn't care. I'd send it in. Then if they had to bring somebody out of Argentina or something, trying to figure how to get him up to Miami, that was part of my job, to give them an idea, get the maps, lay it out, and tell them how they could bring them out, and without repercussions, political, you know, can't bring them out because they're your enemy, but we needed them, you know. A lot of these enemies were working with us, you know, for money. Everybody was doing it for a buck. So it was a nice setup, and they'd take anything, any suggestions you had. Then of course they have all these other experts, and then they put it together, and they chlorate it and figure it out what to do, and then it's sent to the Pentagon and they work on it, you know, from there. We all did our part in the thing, and the whole thing blew when Johnson did that, which I thought was terrible. It was sneaky that we were doing it, but that was worse. It made him a hero. He saved a few $1 million. See, CIA doesn't have to
justify anything.
You're damn right. They've got millions of dollars, and they can do anything they want. Now, in the CIA, we have bad guys. We really have some bad ones, assassins. They'll knock their own people off if they're told to. There's no question about it. They do whatever they were told, you know. And then there's the good guys. I was one of the good guys, and that's all. I was in there for the buck too, you know. So.
But you still had a social conscience.
What?
Conscience. You still had a social conscience.
Well, yeah. You know, my job was to save lives, and originally to bring them out and survival and all that sort of thing. But this other was to set up routes to bring out people or material, you know, or how to get in things. And you know what some of the things in were arms and ammunition, you know. Whereas I don't know what they're bringing in, but I know how to show you. I could show you how to bring it in or suggest how to do it, but then it's up to them. And I know damn well they were bringing in arms and ammunition and people, and our own combat troops were in there too.
Can I take you away from that? There's something else too that goes back just a little bit before that. Lipton flow-through tea bag.
The what?
Lipton flow-through tea bag.
Oh, I had all kinds of inventions.
No, this one here was important.
Yeah.
Might serve as a lesson for somebody.
Yeah, well, what happened, it was Cliff Morgan and I worked on it. We had an idea of putting tea in this tissue, elongated like this, see? And then we bring it up this way and tie it so that it was a sort of a circle like this, you know? So when you put the tea bag in, the water would go all the way through and also come around this way. We didn't think about flow through or anything else. So we fussed around it for a long time and sent it to some tea companies. And of course they weren't interested in it. That's what they told. I mean, we just brushed up. Wasn't long later we saw Lipton's tea flow through bags. Now they all that way. Then there was another one. I had an idea for toothpaste or any kind of a tube with stuff in it, you know, that you had this slot with a dial, and you slide the stainless steel tube like this, and then you dialed it complete, cleaned it, and then just pulled it over and threw it away, or rather you kept it, put it in a new one, and you dialed everything out. And I had a bunch of them I had made with the plastic knobs and the steel little rods with a split in the middle, and I had them down cellar. I wasn't going to do much about it. You had to have a shirt search made and a patent, and going to do it someday. One day you came back and you said, "Look what I got." I said, "You take that back down cellar, and you keep out of my stuff." He said, "I didn't take it out. That's one of mine down in the cellar." I picked it up, and there was a stamp on the end. They gave it a name on it. I didn't have anything on mine. I said, "Where'd you get that?" You said, "In Sears and Roebuck. They had a big barrel there. Tell you that you can do it." That was exactly the thing I had, you know? And that didn't amount to much. And then, of course, we had this tool that was for survival. The commercial parts processing company worked on it, spent a lot of money on it. It was a molybdenum steel with like a razor sharp point on it, and one end was like a screwdriver, and then it had a serrated edge. It would cut through anything. And then it was wrapped with nylon line. Incidentally, the first nylon fish line, we got them. We were putting up these escape kits for the Air Force, the air people, And then in these kits, we had little hooks and different things that you could use if you're out something you could fish and keep alive, and matches and so on, currency of the area that you would possibly be shot down in. And they sent it to this new fish line. They called it nylon fish line. It was known, it hadn't been sold anyplace yet, you know. So we were using that. And now what was I about before that?
That's okay, but I wanted to bring you back to another one. Spam
What?
Dandy?
Oh, well, that was when we had the little the little store down here that we sold. I come up with all kinds of food ideas, you know. And we had the first microwave one, a great big thing, used to make a lot of noise. So we came up with a little sandwich, and we had provolone cheese in it, we had ham in it, and we had pepperoni, and several different things. And then you put it in a plastic bag, and we'd put a little teaspoon of water in it. And didn't work out as good there, so we decided to use the pizza oven. So we got a foil this time, and we put a teaspoon of it, sealed it up, we put it in the pizza oven for, you know, it's pretty hot, 450, 450, 500. And bring it on, and all that cheese would melt, and we called it Jim Dandy, you know, after you, see. And they were the most popular. So finally, the Spam Company had a big...
No, Hormel Company.
Huh?
The Hormel Company.
Well, yeah, Hormel, but
They
it's
make
having
it.
this contest, that's right. The Spam sticks in my craw because I got several cases of
Sandwich
it.
contest,
Yeah. So anyway, we sent this in for the national contest, but there wasn't fine print. Anything that you send, you know, is property of public, you know, domain. You can't do anything. Well, you can't. In fact, you can't patent any food ideas, you know. So anyway, we sent it in, and didn't hear from him. So one day, this friend of mine come in, certified public accountant. He's all excited with a big magazine. Oh my God, there's your sandwich. And there it was, and they called it Spam Dandy. Same thing, spam, this, cheese, so on, put it in the foil, tablespoon of water, seal it, put it in the oven, you know, hot oven for so many minutes and so on. So, you know, he said, let's sue him. We're going, what the hell, I don't want to blow my cover here. I said, let it go. I said, so anyway, he did. He got in touch with them, and they, yes, we're going to come. So I got 4 or 5 cases of Spam, remember, cans and stuff. I was giving it away to everybody. That was my prize, for God's sake, you know. And we even came up with this new package they had that you could look like it was cardboard, but it was aluminum lined, and you could put it in the oven, and it wouldn't come scorched like you do today, you know. And I used to put spaghetti dinners with meatballs in there, and we were the first one to ever put them out that way. Take them home and heat them up. And of course, we gave them so damn much that there was enough for 2 or 3 people in each one. And I think it was 65 cents.
Oh, yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
No, you came up with some really interesting food package idea. How about the word fantastic?
Oh, geez.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, during the war, in our survival kits, there was a little vial, and it had what do you call that?
Fish oil?
What?
Fish oil? Anise?
Oh, anise. A little bit of anise, you know, like, actually you could put a little anise, a little candy in there. They could chew that if they wanted to, and then spit on the bait. Something that attracted fish was that anise oil smell. And we were told to either chew that, or they have that little vial, just put a little bit on it. But don't handle any soaps. Just, if you have to, put your hands in if you can find a pile of horse manure, put them in there, rub it up a little bit, and then handle the bait and put it in, and you'll catch things. But if you've got perfume stuff on your hand, you're not going to catch any fish. Well, that was our idea anyway. We had to say things as an expert, you see. And then when I came back, we fooling around, and I bought a whole 5-gallon thing of this anise oil. I don't know, it cost me $100 and some, I guess, but it would make enough for thousands. So then what we did, we we mixed it in with,
California 30.
yeah, it was cornmeal, and we put some red coloring. We tried to get beef blood, you know, but you're too far from the slaughterhouses to get it, because that's an attractive anyway, but then it would smell and spoil. So we decided to use color. And then we used to call it fantastic. You just rubbed it on the bait or rubbed on your fingers, and then you catch fish. If you threw one of these packages into a pool, you'd see the fish beginning to bubble all over the place and act like they were drunk, you know, flying all over the place out there. So I gave up on the thing because, you know, I was just fooling around. So you took it over, if I remember, and we put them up in little packages, and then, you know, the things they used to put the corn chips on, you know, the clips.
Potato chip wrap?
Yeah, remember I got a bunch of those for you, and you were putting them around, and the orders were cutting them in, remember?
Yeah.
They'd call up and you'd run them, so you made yourself a little bundle on the thing, you know?
I gave it all to the church though.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Just like you did.
Yeah, you said it. Oh, there was quite a few, of course, most of these were for the military that you submit them for. But I tried to come up with inventions to make $1 million. Then remember the thinking cap that I came up with. I got a.
Yeah, you even got, what's her name there, the president's wife involved in the darn.
Yeah, she was gonna help me out, that's right.
Not Johnson,
Oh, the one before that, Nixon, I think it was.
No, was it Nixon?
No,
No,
not
no,
no. Oh, anyway, she was gonna help me out. She was on the education thing, you know, read a day or some damn thing. Well, anyway, it was a good idea, but
Explain what it looked like again.
well, what it was is, you put this cap on and had this visor
Visor,
off
horse
to the
visor.
side, yeah. And it'd go right over your ears. And also we had it so that you could change the tissues so that you wouldn't get any, they were used in the library. And also you could have it wired for sound, you know. And so that when you studied, you were like in a little cubicle by yourself, and you could concentrate. And also schools are interested in, so that when they had test time, they could put these on, and they couldn't see anybody to cheat. They'd have to do what they were doing. It was sounding good. I mean, we used it in at the Army General School, and they made a bunch of them, and they were using them and were very successful. It looked like we were really going to. And then we ran into this during that period where plastic, I don't know what was going on that they couldn't quite. It was becoming very expensive, and it was sort of shelved for a long time. Then a woman down in Florida, she wrote to me and said that she had an invention that she put and sent to the patent office, and they sent it back saying, sorry, it's already been invented by my knee. And she's saying, just the idea I had. So I said, well, she sounded like she was quite a wheel down there. And I said, I'll tell you what, you promote it down in there, see if you can get it moving down there, and you'll rip you off for 40% on the thing. Oh my God, she must have spent a bundle. She went every place, spoke on the thing and demonstrated it, but we didn't quite have the moxie to get that thing moving. We didn't cut it in the corn.
No, it might have been before its time.
Hey, do we have one of the Polish bowling balls here?
The what?
Polish bowling balls. Do you have one of them handy?
What's that?
The Polish bowling ball?
Oh, no, that, some company out.
We don't have one left?
No, I don't have one here.
Why don't you describe what a Polish
Well,
bowling
what
ball
it was, of course, we had a lot of controversy. They're really angry. The Polish people wrote, we met with it would be sort of a rib to the other people, you know, like, you know, hey, you know. It was just a straight, it was an oblong block of wood, and it had a wheel on it, you know, one of these casters. And you had where you put your fingers in it, you know.
3 holes.
And that was it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to figure it out yourself. You look at it, you can't understand how to use it. Well, you couldn't use it for anything unless you threw it down the, you know. So that fooled around a little bit. And then these people took it, there was something as a novelty. They made it out of light wood, and they did a lot of different colors and so on. And they gave them away with, you know, but they called it something else. I forget what it was. Well, right now, you could call it the Iraq bowling ball.
Yeah, the
You
name
know,
wasn't
was
important.
in bad favor, you know, but actually that wasn't bad taste. We got some nasty letters. Oh my God, the people were mad, you know. Well, that isn't our intention, but that shows you we weren't quite as smart as we thought, you know. Then another invention we had where these refrigerators get hot, you know, when the fan blows, they get dirty, and you have to clean them. Reversing the fan, pushing thing, and blow the air out the other way, you know. Gee, that sounded terrific, and Anthony was in on it, he knows refrigeration. So I did a beautiful job of drawing that up. I mean, it was really professional. You know, blueprints, the whole damn thing, just right to the thing. We sent it down, we waited and waited, we had, back it comes. They sent us 5 different things, 25 years ago, somebody invented the same thing. Then we had another idea that we're gonna fix for cars, the kids get out, when you close the door, when you turn on the key, the door won't open. Oh, this is called Cliff Morgan, he put up the money for that. Jesus, we even had one made, and I forget what it cost us. And you turn on the key, and you can't open the door. Turn it off, and the kids won't fall out, see? So we went down to Clute Motors, and happened to be that Mr. Clute had bought one of my models for his kids, you know, and I knew him quite well. He said, let's see, oh my, Henry, come here, would you go in the back room, way in the back there, and see if you can find that box under there? Thing. Yeah. So we're sitting there, the guy pulls the dust off. There's the same damn thing we invented years ago. He said they didn't even want to accept it. You know, the car company. He said, that's stupid. He said, we bought a bunch of them, thought we'd sell them. Nobody wanted them, you know? So that was another one. You just, sometimes you wonder, you look at these guys inventing the hula hoop, or the pet rocks, and they're making $1 million. I say, jeez, if they can do that, I can think of something, but I just never quite made it each time. So don't let anybody kid you, say, well, now so-and-so, he's got an IQ of, oh boy, this, and he's in the intelligence. That doesn't mean a thing. He must be stupid about something, because there were other people in my organization. Oh, what I meant to tell you, one thing that really bothered me the most.
What was that?
Coming out of the war. I listened to, like, Judge Donahue. Boy, he said, I was over to Hawaii, and my division was over there, and we had our big meeting. Boy, the old fellows I've met. Then he said they're having a next one next year in St. Louis. I'm going to go there, and all my old buddies are there. And I thought, geez. Then these other fellows are going to Europe and to see the places that the whole company's going to go, and they're having a ball there. And I thought, what the hell's going on? And I haven't got anybody. I don't have anybody, not one person. I remember a guy, Captain Phelan, that one of the fellows, but the rest were all they were Australian, New Zealand, con men, prison, you know, they put them back in after, or some, they were everything. And they never got friendly with anybody. So that when the war was over, I didn't have anybody. So that's one of the things I missed, there's nothing, you know. So they talk about, do you ever go to your reunions at all? Yeah, I have a reunion just myself. I checked on Phelan, found out he was somebody in Chase from Manhattan Bank, and just about figures the way he handled money. He was really something. He was a real rough crafter, but I guess he retired, and that was never heard of him anymore. And the fellow named these are the American I can remember, Williams. And I guess he got in trouble with the law out in the Pacific after there was a big ship that was going to be salvaged, you know, left there, and somehow or other he got his crew in there, men in there, and they were taking out the valuables out. There were jewels and everything in that thing, safe, and they got him. And he called me on the phone, wanted to know if I had any clout down, and I said, no, I'm all through, I'm doing nothing. You know, I can't help you. I'm sorry, Williams, you got, but by God, he must have made out all right, because about 2 years ago, he called me up from Texas.
Oh, yeah?
He said, is this Jagomina Coletta? And I said, yeah. Oh, is this, oh, gee, is this Tucker? He said, yeah. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing good. I got a couple condominiums in, and this, I said, oh. who did you rob this time? He said, well, you know, I'm doing good. What are you doing? I said, oh, I'm doing a little painting. He said, good, maybe I'll come up and buy one. I said, they're not for sale. Don't come up here. I didn't know him too well. He was, this Phelan, he was a real rough and a very, I don't know. I know one time we paid a collaborator working with us, and he wanted to be paid in gold coin. Well, it didn't take very much, a little bag of it, that we gave it to him. And I remember the bag. I remember we put it in a little steel clip we had on the top, and he gave it to him, and he drove away. In a little while, Phelan came out and he got in his car or vehicle he had there, and he was gone. We didn't pay him. So about late in the evening, about 7 o'clock, we were going in to eat, and I looked over where we had boxes and stuff there, and there's that bag. I know damn well that's the bag that I gave him. So I asked around, and Phelan said, oh yeah, I went and picked it up. He said, you know, he was a real rotten person. And that's all he would say. He didn't say what he did to him or what happened. Now, he was not supposed to do anything physical to anybody. You turn them over to the resistance, they'll knock them off. They do it, not us. Because if you get a price on your head on either way, you're out. They pull you right out of the gun. But he was rough. And we had a Singhalese there. His name was Riley. Red hair, a great big fellow. His mother, I think, was Irish or something. His father was a Singhalese. He was rough. And one time there was a gold shipment that we had nothing to do with it. They were moving, the Germans were moving it. And he got it. And his crew moved it out. And he was the kind that uses that big, like a machete, you know. They'd lop their heads off, you know. He was really rough and spoke very little English. So, you know, when the thing was over, they asked him about, you know, the shipment, where he put it. He didn't remember. He wouldn't give it to him. Never did.
Whatever happened to the diamonds?
The ones I had? Well, like a...
Now this is, pay attention, because there's a fortune to be made out there.
Yeah, my foot. When I had a little bag of diamonds with all that currency on the belt, by the time I got hit, blown up, I was dragging myself through the woods. I was, you know, through training, I buried everything. Everything. Even back, they sent crews looking through there, you know, looking for everything. You know, and they couldn't find the money, nothing. In fact, there was suspicion that I still had it, you know, and I didn't care one way or the other, you know, because at that time I was being pushed around and not given any responsibility. Go down there and enjoy yourself, go down until things started to happen, then they had to call me back. When I got to the time they called me from Switzerland, well, when I got there, all of my helpers were gone. I guess I mentioned that. All of these people, the priests and the young kids in the seminary, they were all gone because they declared after the Germans left. They said, hey, I was the one, I used to help doing that. I did this. And when the Germans came back, they had to hide. They had to get out of there. So I'm in there with a satchel of money. French currency isn't worth a damn. So then I went to the Army depot there and I showed them the currency and they gave me the like amount in Belgian currency. Because you just show them that, they give no questions about it. So it's worth 4 times more than that. So, but I didn't know what to do. You can't use it, you can't go anywhere, you know what I mean? I did send a few $1,000s home. You know, as I stopped in every time I went down one of the Army depots where they had a post office, I'd get these money orders, and they wouldn't question. I'd sort of hint that I gambled a lot. Some of these guys made a lot of money gambling over there, you know. And of course, I probably lost all that money anyway, so it didn't pay any difference, you know. Boy, it was cold, I'm telling you. Coming over the Alps, that's why I have all this lung business. At one point, we had to bring these escapers, they were British, there were 6. And they were going to come over the Alps, and the Italian guys were going to pick them up, bring them through. We were going to meet them halfway and bring them over to Grenoble. Well, then we waited and waited, and finally this Italian guide come in. He said, they're way back. I don't know how many kilometers. He said, they didn't come where we told. They're all frozen. What are we going to do? So then we had to go back, all the way back, and get these Italian craftsmen to make some boxes. We had to get more of them and pay for more. We lucky we had all this money. This is Italians, you know, they wanna get paid, and these are all mountain men, you know, and that's basically a bad time to go through now. I said, I gotta bring him through, I gotta get him out of there, so Phelan was with us at the time. So they boxed these frozen guys up, and we started, and they gave us these masks, and they were made out of rubber, you know, the kind that pilots use, and it would stiffen up and get a lot of frost on it, you can't breathe, you know. Although the old Italian told me, he says, when you take it off, put your down in the fur in your parka and breathe. Don't breathe, you know, out in the air. Well, all I was gonna do was just take it off and take a deep breath and put it back. Oh, Jesus. Like a knife stuck right in my right ear. Oh, God. I got up then. And I was starting to bleed and coughing. Said, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. So I got to Grenoble and we went to this French doctor. I wouldn't go to try to find any American. Jesus, they'd intern you, they'd take you. And he said, oh, you got a frozen prospect. You know me down here? He said, sure, I just hit work just like that. So he says, you're always gonna have a little problem there. So it didn't bother too much after that, you know, you cough a little bit. But then when I got to Belgium, it's cold again. Oh, Jesus, everything froze up there, you know, that, but when the Germans were coming back, they were knocking everybody loose, tanks and everything. And then I started, when I came home, I was fine, then I got pneumonia. I must have had pneumonia at least 15 times. I know Dr. Frisk, it's the first let me listen to your lungs, because it seems that every time I saw him, I had lung trouble. So in the last few years, it hasn't been too bad. They gave me this new shot, you know. But more when I got it, I mean bad, you know. So, but I never reported it, you know, after all. I was doing something I shouldn't have done. And then you show how stupid you are each time, you know. It was always through stupid. I got hurt here, I got picked up here, always through overconfidence, you know. And it was the Americans that got, well, all the British picked me up a few times too, you know. But this one time, it didn't last long, but I was in civilian clothes and I had a beard, and I was, long time, I'd been in the cellar sitting there waiting for them to, you know, clear up to get the Germans out and I was hungry and thirsty as hell. Didn't want to drink the wine. You know, I didn't want to get myself befuddled, although I was tempted and, you know, just enough to get thirsty. So when I got out of there, I was getting some water, and they were rounding up, the Americans were rounding up all the people in the thing there. And so when they searched me, they found the money belt. Oh, Jesus, that's all they wanted to know. Where'd you get that from? What'd you do? You turned in some? No, you know, I tried to explain them in French, you know. So then I started speaking English. Wait a minute, who the hell are you? So they put me in the compound with the prisoners. And I knew I'd be clear when the interrogators came, you know, but you know, my God, they had hundreds up there, but he was working way down to the other end. So just by chance, he was in 1,000 million, this major went by, and I looked at him and I said, Al Hunkin. Al? Hey, tarthead. Who said that? I was in there, who the hell are you? You know, that was, we called him tarthead. That was he went to school with me at Benning, you know.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of my classmates and a roommate, see? And I told him, Coletta, what the hell are you doing? No, he come over to hug me. He said, Jesus, you stink. Boy, you smell. I said, I know, I gotta have a bath. Come on. And so, of course, the GIs are guarding me. Oh boy, anything, you know. So they took me over and I got showered up and I drinking the water coming out and was thirsty. So I got cleared up there, you know, and they gave me money in my belt. I think the boys were gonna keep it, you know. There was quite a bit of money in that thing. But that was, of course, I'd have been cleared out in time, you know. But that was funny when I saw him. I couldn't believe it. He was assigned to that outfit, you know. Well, anyway, this is 100 years from now. Are y'all ready already?
Wait.
speak up a little bit when you're talking, because the last film I couldn't understand you too well. It was bad enough I mumbled, you know what I mean? Okay.
Okay, we covered a good bit of history, but we stopped way short of where we are and where we are today and what it's all about. Okay, coming back and getting a little bit into gear there. You raised two of the nicest children in this world, especially a son.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And went through such things as the scouts with them and taking them hunting and fishing, little adventures here and there. Daughter took ballet lessons.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. They're making me out a hero, but all right, just keep it up.
Okay.
What else did I do?
What else did you do? Voted Democratic most of the time.
Yeah, and then I found that you changed to Republican, and I found these papers from President Reagan thanking you for your support, and they give you a certificate with his picture and what's her name there, Nancy? Is that her name?
Good old Nancy Reagan, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a card-carrying Republican and a registered Democrat. It's covering both angles.
Yeah, well, that way you got them right in the middle, right?
Uh-huh.
Just one little thing here. You remember the dog we had? What was his name?
Trixie.
What?
Trixie. It was a male dog, but it was named Trixie.
Oh, Trixie, yeah. Your pronunciation is bad. You talk worse than I do French.
I can't
Anyway.
help it. It's that southern accent starting to creep.
Well, did you know that one day I came around the corner of the house, not here, but where we lived down there,
Sheridan
at
Court.
Sheridan Court, and he was surprised and he barked at me and he nipped at me. So I picked him up and I bit his tail. You know about that, don't you?
I heard it was his leg.
No, I bit his left tail, and he didn't do that again. Awful tasty tail.
No wonder that dog was always looking over his shoulder at you, huh?
Yeah,
He lived to be what, 17 years old or so?
yeah. But you know, it was fantastic. We had that big rabbit. Remember that you had that big pet rabbit? And he always ignored it, like the disdain of that. Oh, geez, I can't stand it. Like he'd walk away from it when it hopped over. But one day, some other dog came in the yard and started for that rabbit. And our dog ran across it and whacked him. Hit right against the side, and he just growled and drove him off. Protected his back. Then he went back, looked at the rabbit again, and just scuffed. You know, I have to do that for you, you stupid fool. But boy, he really went after that dog. Yeah, well, that's very interesting, isn't it?
It is, it is. I remember that. Yeah, we had a bunch of wild animals too go through this house.
Not all right, you kids are all right, you weren't that bad.
Oh, okay.
We
How about the duck?
Well, we talked about the duck,
We
remember?
did, that's right,
And
okay.
but you had, over here, you had a sparrow that was crippled and you brought it in. You call it Bopsy, remember?
Right.
And it was a real pet. We used to take it outside, or rather you kids did, and then you put it on your hand, let it go, fly around and come back again. And it went on for quite a while. One day, though, you did that, and that's it. He never came back. But we used to see Bopsy out there with other sparrows hopping around, but you reverted to the wild stage, it wouldn't come back, you know. Then we had a pigeon that wouldn't fly. It would, not that it wasn't able to, it was just stupid and wouldn't fly. Remember, you throw it in the air and it
Fall like a rock.
just coast down and come back again. Well, I guess she wanted you to throw it up again. And we had lizards. Oh God, I guess just about everything, didn't we? When we used to go up to the lake for a little vacation, we had to bring all these damn animals with us. You know, pigeons and
turtles.
lizards and turtles, yeah.
Rabbits. And,
Yeah.
There was many we didn't have, right?
Of course, the house was well protected against other birds, you know, because they had a kid that used to go up in that window up there, and you hear a little with a BB gun, and you see those birds moving a little fast. Some of them look like they've been hit with something.
Some
got there dirty now, or what you got on, having to wash them.
No, now I'm wearing them, Mom.
They got this, now this
Julie,
one,
you're on candid
this is a
camera.
dry clean only, but I didn't know until afterwards, but I washed it in Moolite when I washed
Let me
it.
bring it over, let me take a look, Mom. That's the one that needs
What's
to be
it
dry
say?
cleaned? Yeah, bring it around here, let me see it. Okay. No, it's fine, looks good the way it
Did
is.
you hear? I did.
Yeah, it's good.
But did you know you had there?
Yeah, you got a little hole underneath.
Got a little hole right here in the armpit, huh? That's a bullet hole, Mom.
You've been on candid camera, you know that, don't you?
You're on camera right now.
Dear.
Just a little segment of everyday life, you know, life of the Coletta, right?
Oh,
Hey, isn't our name supposed to have two L's in it, though?
The what?
Isn't our name supposed to be spelled with two L's?
It makes an hell of a difference, doesn't it? Yeah, no, I don't know. It doesn't mean different how they spell it.
Like they don't cost life for dinner.
Yeah. You know, I got an ice underneath there. My thumb is itchy. Does that mean anything about getting money or so? Oh, boy, does it itch. Oh, can't stand it.
Itchy thumb. I'm not too sure what it means.
There must be something.
This is probably some clue if you people are paying attention. If you remember the very first part of this video, this may be one of the clues. Itchy thumb, left hand. Remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one of these descendants of mine,
Right.
100 years from now, they'll have an itchy thumb and they'll say because of that damn great-great-great-grandfather, he used to have an itchy thumb, so we inherited it. You know what I mean?
Can they sue you for that?
Well, let them go ahead. I'll be in heaven anyway.
Well, I don't know. That's debatable. I got something here I want to show everybody. This is something that may or may
This
not
is
be
going to be
appreciated.
very interesting.
Ah, darn it.
He's trying to keep this conversation going, just to use up that tape so he doesn't waste the money
I
on the
can't
tape.
reach it. But anyways, I got it in my hand here, but you can't quite see around the corner. A black telephone. This black telephone says on it where the telephone number usually is, it says Elmira, 7211. Do you want to tell them what that's all about?
Well, that phone is almost over 50 years old. It's one of the original Bakelite phone. That's not plastic. That's Bakelite. That's real tough stuff. Now the phones you can drop today, they crack and you have to turn them in. This thing has been mutilated, been thrown and smashed, and kids, you know, all your friends coming over and it never bothers it. The phone company said they would like me to turn it in, and then they want to give me a new one. And I said, no way, because I suspect they want to send it to the Smithsonian Institute, you know, to be shown. But I'm keeping it. It's the best phone we got. And I think we're the only house that doesn't have that push button. You probably will have all push button by the next 100 years from now. But right now we dial everything, you know. When we started that phone, the number was 7211. And then you had to wait till other people got through talking. You were on a party line, 3 people on the phone. And you had to wait till they got through or tell them to get the hell off. You had to call somebody. Then later they made it 47211. They're getting more phones now. Then they finally, after years, became 734-211. So it made it real long and hard to remember, you know, which is good. A lot of people couldn't remember the call.
Then later they went and added
Except
the...
Uncle Phil, he could remember the phone, called me every morning of his life. He's an old, cranky old so-and-so, you know what I mean? Oh, you've got arthritis, he's had it worse. You've got diabetes, although he doesn't have to take medication. You don't know what diabetes is like. He's got it worse, no matter what you got. I even make up a disease. He's got that worse. What are you looking for?
I just want to make sure everything's fine if the battery's
How
not
can you
getting low.
tell if it's running?
Well, because you can see the pictures through there and it says record on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If it was a problem, it shuts off. What happens first is when the battery's getting low is it starts to have an E come on. And the E
Now,
starts to flash.
I want them to know that you bought this machine here that takes the pictures for a mere $695. Now, of course, the day that you're looking at them, they run about $12,000 each, don't you know, the inflation.
No, you'd probably be able to pick up this model in Salvation Army store for like about $10-15. You know, people turning them in on the latest laser technology or whatever.
Oh, really?
Sure. There's nothing that ever stays stagnant with anything to do with photography. They're always coming up with something new to try to progress you into the next stage of it, be it still, be it picture, whatever. You know, back years ago they had the regular 8mm. That wasn't good enough. They came up with a Super 8. Then they came up with a Super 8 that had talkies to it. Then you got into the video cameras, and the video cameras are getting more involved. The way it may go in the future is that there'll be laser technology be such that you'll have display like on the middle of a table, and you'll be able to walk around and see all sides of your subject at the same time from any direction. You know, you'll be able to look at it. But you know, I don't know when that's going to come to be or when, but that's what they're talking about as the next thing.
Well,
Doesn't that sound exciting?
no, doesn't interest me one bit.
See, now if this was that way, they'd be able to walk around the back of the chair and see in the back. Too. Be able to see the bald spot on the top of your head.
Oh, really?
Sure. Be able to walk around, check your socks and see if there's holes in them. Yeah.
I don't even understand computers. I don't even know how they work. When they show pictures and diagrams of cars turning around and different, how do they do all that stuff? Somebody has to draw that up first, don't they?
They just start off with the basic picture. The computer, in its own mind, knows where the next step is. And so it doesn't just manipulate the picture, you know, by certain standards if it's following.
Now you're saying that the computer has a mind.
No, but it knows how to function as far as, you know, the chain of events. It's got to be an orderly chain of events.
Well, by the
Yeah.
time they look at these things, they'll have robots doing everything for them, you know what I mean?
Hey, I'll tell you something. After 2.5 hours or better into a tape, anybody that's still watching it is truly devoted or demented, one or the other. So you can take my word for it. Now, if you're still out there and you're still looking at this after all this time, if you've been watching it straight through, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I don't know.
I mean, the only thing that's worse than you is us being here that long doing it. But we didn't do it in one day. We didn't do it in segments between other things, visiting people and meals, whatever. Hey, that reminds me, you know, there's still a batch of clams down in the cooler.
I know that. They're down there. What are you gonna do with them?
Clams, there's something that we get from the ocean that isn't completely concluded yet. And you can eat these things, they're delicious little morsels.
Yeah, but soon you won't even get them out of the ocean.
No, they'll be raising them on farms.
Yeah. This is the time that they look at it and say, my God, where are those people in those days? You know what I mean? All those things they did that, I don't understand. What's a sparrow?
Sparrow. It's a type of car you drive with an internal combustion engine. See, another thing too, just in case you bend this along with the whole thing, if you haven't figured it out yet, this is not all factual. A lot of it is opinionated, and just in case you haven't figured it out. So if you're going back to the history books to try to verify every little subject, you're trying to see if the names were pronounced and how everything relates, don't be disappointed if it doesn't all intermesh.
Because the books could be wrong.
The books are probably wrong.
Yeah.
We're completely right, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as I said, I told you, Jim, I have never been wrong in my life, except once when I thought I was, you know. Of course, that'll get them because they've never heard it. You know, this is so old that it certainly isn't going to be repeated, you know. How much more film we got left that we have to keep
Right,
running?
we can go as long as we want, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're gonna run out of steam well before that thing runs out of film. About now, they're probably saying, oh God, let's see what's on the TV, we'll watch the rest of this later. Put it back up on the shelf at number 1. That's the first reel. But, no, there were some other things we wanted to cover, I don't think we touched on it. How about the time that you broke the window with the BB gun and tried to blame me?
No, I was
You wanna
telling
make
you
a
what not to
confession?
do.
You wanna make
Why
a
do you have to
confession
bring
now?
that up when you're shooting holes in the walls upstairs? I still left, you know, the walls are still the same upstairs in your room. And you must have laid in bed and just peppered the walls with BB gun. and just happened to be outdoors, and I said, Jim, be careful, you don't point it toward the window like that and pull the trigger. And somehow or other it pulled in the window. It only made a little tiny hole. It wasn't a big hole.
Just about dead center too.
Yeah. And then there used to be a box. I would look out the window and I'd see a box with a stick on it, with bread under it, and a long string going upstairs. And of course I knew what it was, but Mother didn't understand it. She said, "Now what's that box doing out there with all that bread underneath?" Then you see the birds going and going, and all of a sudden the box come down and captured them. And you were up there with a string, pulling the little peg, and the damn thing fell down on the bird. And then you let them go. We didn't even eat them.
Now, then another trick I used to do was I'd teach the birds to come to the back steps. I'd feed them there. Then I'd feed them in the back little cupboard way, coming in from the back porch. Pretty soon I'd have them coming in the kitchen, eating off the kitchen floor. And Grandma couldn't figure out why there's birds flying around inside the house.
You know, an interesting thing, when I was a kid, we used to go to Grove Park and say, "There's a squirrel." No, you go around that side, and I go on this side. And the minute you see the squirrel running around the other side, it's hard to see one. Amazing. Then all of a sudden, things began changing. A squirrel was seen in your backyard. Then another one squirrel over. We are now infested with squirrels.
You know what?
All over the place.
You know why?
Why?
It's very simple. I tried to figure that out. I just figured it out today. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact they weren't here before is because, believe it or not, it took that long for enough trees to mature to be able to support the population. And it was only back about 30 years ago they started showing up. It took that long, 100-some years, not 100 years, 50, 60 years. From the time they cleared those trees, for the new ones to come up to give enough support for the squirrels. That's why they just suddenly started appearing where they weren't here before.
They eat, get around. The neighbor next door, he tried to get rid of them by shooting them, but it didn't work. Then Bill Larrabee, he bought a very sophisticated traps, and he used to trap them. And he'd take them all the way up to the mountain to my land up there, and he'd let them go. And then he'd come back, and there'd be 2 more there. And I said, it's never going to quit. This is the pecking order. There's squirrels that always want to take that place, but they get driven off. As soon as you take those 2, the next 2 will come in. And I don't know how many squirrels he brought up to the land, and it was making me a little bit upset because I had all those hickory trees, and I like hickory nuts. And you had to go up and compete with those damn squirrels because they took them all before I got up there, And I used to make Mother nervous. I used to feed the squirrels out back, and she said, "Isn't that nice?" Yeah. And then I fooled her one time. I took one of those roasting pans out, and I laid it down, and I was feeding, and I got the squirrel to come into the roasting pan, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Not big enough yet, honey. When he gets a little bigger, we'll roast." Oh, she
You want to hear something funny? Tell them about some of those fishing adventures we used to do down in Cohocton, when the grass grew real high and how you'd get real close to the edge of the stream and then do your disappearing.
Well, we were fishing was a Cohocton, and
Trout.
along the stream there were these steep banks, but then the grass would grow, these high weeds, and you couldn't, and I'd be walking along, and I'd getting ready, and I said, "No, the water's out there, and I'm going to throw," and I stepped right off, right into the stream up to here. And there was another fisherman standing on the other side, so I just kept on like I was still fishing there, and I was water. Then I finally came out and walked up to the bridge where you were, sloshing with the boots filled. And I sat down, let the water, Grandpa looked at me. "What happened?" I said, "I got a little leak."
How about the time you drove off the property down at the lake there?
Well,
Bass fishing, almost ruined my fishing.
Well, we were fishing along the lake, and it was a cold, it was a sort of a fall day, remember? And I was casting out, and had all these ties that they build up, and these railroad ties, and they were sort of rotting out. So I stood and I cast. I was using a new pole. I cast out, and then all they collapsed. And I went right into the lake up to here. And what did you say? Daddy, you're all right? No, you said you didn't break my pole, did you? That's all I got from you. So I finally got out and you took the pole. I had to get into the car and sort of strip down, turn on the heater. And, but you and your friend, they just kept on fishing, you know, like the old bud, he can take care of himself, you know.
Well, wait a minute, this goes both ways. I felt, and this time it wasn't that cold. Once in April, I fell into a stream in Maples, New York, Maple Stream. I went over the edge of a drop-off when I was walking through it, and the water started carrying me downstream. In order to save your life, what you do is you bring your knees up real quick to trap the air in your waders. If you don't, it fills up with water, you're a goner. So I did that, and it made me very buoyant. I wrapped my arms around my legs with my pole sticking up in the air, and there I am floating down this small stream, just spinning in the current. I go right by my father here, and you know what he does? You think he offers to help stick out his pole or
No, I
something, or even
shouldn't.
says, hey, you know, Jim, we'll beat you downstream or something? No, he looks at me going by and he's casting in.
No,
Like
I
I-
did,
like I
I
wasn't-
called Grandpa to your attention. I said, that's Jim going by there, you know.
But he never missed a stroke in fishing.
No, then we saw him finally hit
Didn't
him.
even reel in.
Well, we knew eventually that before you get to before the lake or the ocean, but then you must have hit a ripple down there because we saw you stand up and stagger over to the shore and then put both feet up against the tree and let it, so we continued fishing because we, you know, had a chance to catch some fish. We were stirring them up out there, you know. Oh, I figured you'd make it. If you didn't, why, what the hell? Then of course, I don't know, but Grandpa wasn't concerned because he had a lot of confidence in you, you know. He told the time that he took you once to the Bath Fish Hatchery, you know, where they raise all these fish up there,
Tell me what it was.
thousands and thousands of trout that they, in different sizes, you know. And they brought you up, a little kid there, and you looked into it and you screamed, get the net, get the net, you know. And you said, Grandpa tried to explain, you can't take any of these out of here, you know. But oh, you went fishing all as a very young kid with Grandpa all the time, didn't you?
Oh, gosh, yes. Just about every week. Yeah. We've done a lot of fishing. We've done a lot of hunting, too.
Yeah.
We used to go deer hunting, remember?
Yeah, well, of course, Grandpa didn't like to go with me, because I had this old gun with a hair trigger, and as I'd walking along sometime and jump, boom, and shoot up in the air. And I said, boy, I missed that one. He said, never mind, that gun just went off, didn't it? It would just hit it, it would fire, you know. So I said, the hell with that. So one time we were out hunting, he and I together, all over. Finally we came back, he said, now we're getting near the road. Eject your shells. I said, what shells? He said, no, take them out. I haven't got any shells. You mean to tell me you never loaded your gun? I said, no. I walked with an empty gun with. So I wasn't that much interested anyway, you know.
Deer hunting.
Remember that time I shot that deer and these drunks come up and shot at it and claimed, oh, you were with you?
I was with you, but I wasn't right there. Else I
Oh,
was protesting it.
I hit that deer and I went down, we followed it, and a couple of other hunters were there. When it fell, they finally shot into the head, and I said, that's my deer. It is, no, sir, that's ours. And they were both potted, you know, and they were like getting belligerent. I said, all right, keep it. It's up to you, it's yours. Well, give us an address, we'll send you some. I said, oh, come on, I don't. You had to watch people like that were out there, you know, they could hurt you. And of course, the time that you took me with a bunch of your friends up there to Arnott, and you said, now, we're gonna go up in the hills, and Dad, you better stay down here, or you're gonna be all right. And you figured, what the hell, the old man. Of course, I wasn't too old, but I was older than you fellows. You stay right here, it'll be all right. You didn't know that was where you left me. Later we found out was a run where they used to come and cross down there. So when you left me, a deer came down and I fired it, and I knocked it down, and we were going over to it, and there was another deer came along, the fellow next to me. It was raining, an old man, his name was Parks too, and he started firing, and nothing happened. His shell was all swollen up in there, you know, paper. So I said, well, I'll take a fire shot at it. So I just, any old place, you know, to shoot it at, to get it done. The son of a gun, if I didn't hit it right up in the shoulder. And there's 2 deer out there now. In the meantime, some fellow in a tree way in the back had been watching them. And he said, you drove us crazy. We watched you when that first deer came, you brought up the rifle, you're shy, and you're sort of looking, and you sort of did this and wiped the brain off, and took it up, and then you moved over. Is he ever gonna shoot or not? I'm gonna shoot over his head. And then the deer started, and what I did, I aimed at the body, and I missed it and hit it in the head, see? Boy, did it look beautiful. There's 2 shots. Then you fellas all came down a little while and said, what are you shooting at, rabbits down here? And I said, no, I got a couple deer. Oh, yeah, sure. And, but this man came down with his knife, and they dragged him. And I told Park, that's yours, you know, I mean, it's all right. So he took it over to an incline. He showed us how they got it, you know, and it was all steaming over there. Remember that? But after that, I rested on my laurels. I never shot another deer. Remember that time that whole herd came in front of us with your friend, Lewis? And we were shooting down in there. God, the deers were running off. They were right in front of us, you know?
Yeah, we were
And then we
shooting.
ran out of shells.
Yeah.
Remember? And then that one time that you went hunting, and this deer passed me, and I fired, and I thought it went down. And as I, getting my things together, I started forward. I figured it fell into the grass, but it must have gotten up and took off, and all I saw was this crazy hunter way up there, way up near the road. This crazy guy. He was firing, and the deer fell, and still staggering, and that guy ran over there with a knife, and he was doing this to me. He said, crazy son of a bitch. I got up there, and who the hell do you think it was? It was you. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I was
Yeah.
lobbing those shells in like a mortar.
Oh.
Aiming 18 feet above the deer and dropping them on them.
Oh,
It was so
you
far
got
away.
the deer.
Well, we got it. It was a big one, too.
Yeah, but you had to go hand. Like,
I ran out of shells again.
Yeah,
We
Daniel
were famous
Boone,
for
with
that,
your
wasn't
gun
it?
and with your knife, you were up there. Oh, geez, I thought everybody was near me. That guy's crazy up there. What's he doing? He's gonna get hurt. That dog, that deer is gonna huff him or do something with him. Finally, he stood there like Tarzan over the top. He had a bloody knife. Go up there and I see it's my son. Oh my Jesus, I can't believe it.
We had some fun, didn't we?
Huh?
We had some fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Coming back and getting lost sometimes. We would come back and go hiking once with Grandpa.
Oh.
What about that one there? We ended up down at Cooper Lake.
Well, that was a very monotonous ride, zoom, zoom, zoom. Then he had the big Cadillac, and we'd go up there fishing.
Yeah.
And late in the evening, we're starting back. He's sound asleep. After all, he was pretty close to 80 years old, And old man Stefani, he's sleeping on the back there. He was 80 something. And so I'm the young fellow for 60-some years old or something, and driving along and just trying to keep awake. And as I came to this little side road, this truck came out, and I sort of swerved, to make sure I don't hit him. And Grandpa, wait, watch where you're driving. I said, holy smokes, I thought you were driving, Mike. Oh, Jesus, stop the car, stop the car. We sat there for 10 or 15 minutes. He said, you think you can still, don't do that. But, and then we sometimes, when we go up with Mr. Stefani, poor old fella, and we wouldn't catch anything, and swore off, no more, I'm not coming up anymore. Never get me up in here again. And then we drive home, just as we drive him off, he says, what time you gonna pick me up? In the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, we'd pick him up, and then he said to me, do you want me to call you sometime? I said, well, yeah, you give me a call on the phone, make sure that I'm up 5 o'clock or whatever it is. So I got up anyway, and he didn't call, and hell with we picked him up and he said, oh geez, I got in trouble. He said, I called up, I looked up the phone for Jim Coletta. He called the guy up here, the painter, house painter. Hey, time to get up. Come on, to get out, going. We're gonna go fishing. Get up, never mind. And I drove him crazy. What the hell are you talking? Then he used to have a big sinker on about it. Nothing delicate about laying it out there and letting it float. You'd hear him behind you going plop, plop, plop. And lots of times he'd be fishing in a spot a long time and I'm way down. And then he pulls out of that spot, no damn good. Moved down, so I went to just where he was and went out. Boop, I caught one. He get mad. Like playing the slot machine. Like you keep pulling and nothing that, then the other guy puts a quarter in and he wins, The fishing was good there for a long time. Remember, we
Years,
could get
years
the
and
limit
years.
in no time. Then later, Grandpa and I went up and I know, we had bad luck. And every once in a while, these damn planes would go over and drop that white stuff down, They were the potato fields. That was a big potato country. And, I don't know whether it was, and the ranger there that came around, he said, gee, they said, no, he said, there's hundreds of trout have been stocked in here. He said, I don't understand it. You're the only ones I've seen fishing up here. And, once in a while we get one. Of course, Grandpa was a little bit miffed with me sometime. And one time I was fishing along and he's sitting on the bank and he had, well, all of a sudden he had something there. It bent. Then it came up, it was a big trout, big brown one. So he got right up to the shore and I said, don't worry, I'm gonna help you. I went down to help him to get it, to gill it, and God, I must have done something. Something went off. And he just stood there with a little pole and looking at me like, you son of, he had it. Although we had good times. I haven't been fishing in a long time. Of course, Naples, you took me there fishing. That's a new experience down there. I'm used to when you catch a bass like this, boy, you hit a bass. Take it home, not mount it, but you're gonna have a nice meal and fillet it and all that. So I remember I had trouble getting the boat and getting out. I had the same problem I got now. Get in, I can't get out. So you had to take me to shore. You and Chris took me down and left me on the shore, and you guys are out to fishing in the canal. And so I was fishing off. All of a sudden, it was about like this. I got the, remember, hey, what do you say? And you said, throw it back. Oh, geez, I couldn't believe it. You said, I'm not going to fillet that thing. And then you held up a string or stuff of like lunkers like this. You were holding them up. Down there, they're awful big. And something like this is nothing.
Well, the Florida bass does grow big. It's a special strain of bass. In fact, they
Yeah.
import it through the country. It's in California and Texas now. It's just a strain that grows very big.
Well, they have a bass tournament up here at Seneca Lake. And I don't know if it's true, but I think one of these ex-champions, he was ex after this, he caught a big one up here. And he didn't win because they said that didn't come from Seneca Lake. That came from down there. It's a different kind of a bass. So what he did, he kept it alive and thing and brought it up here,
Oh, the live wells today they got in these boats, you can keep fish alive forever. They got aerators and everything else. They're like aquariums. They
Well,
keep
even
alive
down
and
there,
release them.
like a big lunker that during the year somebody caught one, they keep it someplace until the big contest comes. And then, set it in. He said, some of these contests are really rigged, big ones, big money ones, Then of course, when you catch one, some lure company will come in and say, you use our lure, don't forget, it's $10,000 for you, you know what I mean? So yeah, he probably used an old bent hook,
Or dynamite.
I like it. I miss fishing it right down at the end of your road there. That I caught a few down there. Remember, not too many.
It's still good. I never get any time to go right now. I hope to in the near future when I get mine.
Then you give me a bro. The last time you were here, was it 3 years ago? you gave me a brand new pole and the plastic, I still got it. I want every time I go, these responsibilities as a family man and a grandfather, I can never seem to make it. And then of course, somehow or other I lost the mobility that I used to have. It's hard to get around. And then when I saw these pictures of me, I didn't realize such a big fat toad that I wanted to sit there, you know, the jowls going and the big stomach sitting there. And I said, it reminds me of somebody. And oh, Jesus, I know who it reminds me of. A man I'm always sorry for, because he was such a handsome guy, Marlon Brando. Oh, he was terrific. And he turned out he's got a big stomach and he talks about like I do, you know. And I thought, oh, Jesus, I finally made it, you know. Of course, I like to imagine I'm younger and more vital, you know. I'm sitting here being clever about things. And when I looked at the pictures, I go, Jesus, poor old man, he's trying too hard, you know. Of course, you're helping me along. Of course, I don't feel sorry for me because I'm really a brilliant man, you know. With all the stupid things I've done in my life. So that was the reason I had the kind of work given to me, because I was so unpredictable. And
I inherited that from you.
you know, I was told, and I read the records of my record, Army record, because I'm supposed to be in the Army. They commissioned me in the Army anyway. It says, never put this man behind a desk.
Well, I think we just about covered the whole thing. Is there
Yeah.
anything, how about some last comments that you might want to pass on to somebody for 150 years from now? Something other
Well,
than don't step on the cracks in the sidewalks, and don't eat any big toads, or, you know, something with meaning to it. You know, sound like you're
Something
religious or
very profound, you mean?
something profound without using any four-letter words.
Well, that's hard to do, because,
Let it just flow from the heart.
well, it's hard to do. You know, I've been, I'm gonna go to sleep here. Oh, it's been fun doing this. I don't know where you got the patience to turn that machine on and listen to me. And, of course, you know, even the grandchildren think I'm grand. They think I'm terrific. But even as shaky as I am, I'm still able to do a few, you know, card tricks, you know. But I don't know if I'm really fooling them, but they like to make me think so, you know. Oh, will you come to my birthday? And it seems I do that same damn trick all the time, changing the colors of the card and then escaping with a rope, you know. Of course, it's not really escaping, but it's a trick tie, you know. And then one where I cut the rope in half and it comes together again. And then my story used to be that now, back home, we had our clothesline up and it broke and cut in half like this. And they don't even know what a clothesline is talking about. I'm talking about. You don't hang. And I said my mother used to hang them up. And I said, well, maybe you kids don't understand this, but we didn't have dryers, so we used to have pieces of rope, you know, going on little pulleys, and then I used to put clothes on there and dry them, and then bring them in. Well, anyway, it broke. So I had these two pieces, and I thought, well, I'll fix it for my mother so she can use it. So I tied a knot in it, and she said, well, that's nice, but it won't go through the pulley. Well, I said, I'll cut down a little bit of that thing, and he said it still won't go. Well, here, you hold that in, and you hold that in. I'm going to try to trim that down just a little bit more. Okay, you pull this in, and you pull that in. Oh, wait, no, doesn't work. Wait a minute. Now you pull hard, pull, and that's all together. Oh, they go bananas, you know. But little Michael, he knows how I do it. But he still goes, oh, you see I put it together. Then I used to do a lot of rope escapes, you know. And I always got out. I mean, nothing except one day, one of my girl cousins, a little
she come over and she said, let me tell you. She only had a little piece of rope. I'm always afraid of the short pieces because by the time, the long persons, by the time they did this, you could start flexing, you know, to get ready. So she put that little rope on here and on here and that, and you know, I almost couldn't get out, you know. But if you give them a long piece of rope, and then by the time they start doing this and they start doing that, and you're moving here, there's gonna be a little give in it. That's just enough that you need, you know. And then all the wrapping around you doesn't mean one thing, because all you do is do it, and shit, you could get out immediately, but you make it look like work on the whole thing. And then of course, when you performed on a stage, people are sympathetic, you know, especially if they like your tricks and you're joking all the time. They're not gonna try tie you hard. They don't want you to get caught and be responsible. So they're pretending that they're tightening it for you. I can hardly move. But deep as I gotta do all I can to keep the rope from falling out. And I used to do a lot of pickpocketing, you know, entertainment. People could see me do it down there, and the other fellow would be all confused up here as you'd be getting things off. But then I get credit for a lot of things I never did. Like, you know, you go to the washroom, you take your rings off, or you take your watch off, and this one fellow went in, he was the chairman of the thing, and a friend of his went in there after, and he saw his watch down there, and he knew me, you know, so he said, you know, Fred left his watch over there. He probably forgot he did it. So he slipped me the thing, and I called the fellow up, and I got a couple things. I got his billfold out, and he left, and he thanked me, and I said, oh, wait a minute, oh, here. Oh my God, he went crazy. How did I get that wristwatch off of him, you know? And you get credit for a lot of things, you know, that, like these magicians tell you to take credit. Like say you're doing something, the plaster falls, take a bow, like you did it, you know. One time, I'll never forget, I was doing a trick with at someplace in New England. It was one of these, and it was a dinner, and then later they went into the bar. Now that's a mistake. You don't ever do that. You just leave them after you've entertained them. But this guy wanted to come on in and have a beer and so on. And there was this guy who was really belligerent.
Guys, what's you?
He said,
I'm getting jealous.
Give me a kiss.
He gets all the attention. Yeah.
Of course he does.
oh, you're on this.
Look at
Give Dad a
Okay.
kiss.
Hmm?
Give
Julie,
Dad
would you do me a favor and put on some hot water? I gotta have a cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Decaf.
So, oh no decaf. So anyway, this guy was really giving me a hard time. Give me the cards. You got it, and I thought. And the other people were gonna just about tell him where to go. Oh, I could leave alone. I figured I could get the card. I'd crimp, you know, and do that. You can always find it, you know, even when he gets through with it. If I can get the hands on the deck, when he puts it in, I can find it later. But that son of a gun, they're gonna card out, you know. You put it back, shuffle it up, find it. Well, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to do it, you know, some way that isn't gonna be a big deal, but some way I'm gonna, so I happen to be shuffling like this, and he's sitting down, and when I did, you know how the cards will cut, and one flew out, and it turned over, went like this on it, and it went right into his lap. And I was just ready gonna reach for it and put it back, when all of a sudden I knew something's, cause he went, holy shit. And then I just threw the deck down like, you know, what the hell. And later, other magicians that heard about, how did you do that one? You know, I mean, this is impossible. You didn't even know what it was. You couldn't get your hands on it. You couldn't make any crimps. You couldn't do anything. And yet, when you shuffled, the card flipped through the air and laid right on his lap. 1 in a million. And boy, and even a write-up later in the paper about this magician, you know, that came, oh, it's terrific. And those things that make you, you know, these big things.
Are you ready for a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell these people to go away and leave you alone?
What's that?
You wanna tell these people to go away and leave you alone?
Yeah, why don't you? You're living in a very funny age, I'll tell you. Like ours were very calm, no troubles, a lot of drugs and murders and stuff, but you know, the normal.
These are the good years. These are the years everybody talks about.
Yeah.
These are the good old times. We're sorry, you know, you can't join us in person. You have to accept it the way it is, though.
Hey, I just noticed on TV that I chuckle. I just did it now. I never realized that I did. These are old man's things, and I don't like to imagine being an old man. But I sort of enjoyed it. I think he's a very personable man. That's
Who?
me.
You.
Yeah. And I had to have you here because you own the machine. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, I get the first shot of this thing.
Okay, you can shut it off, and I'll see you in the year of 3010. I'm coming back as a tiger.